morning, friends. It is Friday. I didn't have time to take the blow-off valve off. Not the blow-off valve, the recirculation valve. We all know it's a recirculation valve. It doesn't blow anything except leak boost. But in my haste to get to the shop this morning, I forgot to pull mine off the car. So basically I'm gonna drive back home and pull it off the car and then drive back to the shop. So, which means that's about an hour of driving. It takes me about a half hour to get home, pull it off the car, drive half hour back. So I set the GoPro up here in my car. I figure, you got an hour drive, so why not do a vlog? It's quick and easy. Slam that up there on the YouTubes so people have something to watch. Maybe learn a little bit about the guy behind JacFab. My mom drove a 71 Chevelle from basically the time that I can remember. I may have come home from the hospital in it up until I was about, 8-ish, and then someone sideswiped her. That later turned into my first car, which had just got stuck in the driveway, stuffed in the garage, until I was old enough to realize the potential of cars and how awesome they are. And so I basically made $20 a day working. When I was, say, 12-ish. I think when I was 12, I started working, and I made $20 a day, working 4 to 5 days a week, talking like 6-8 hour shifts. It's kind of like child labor, but I mean, really, $20 a day when you're 12's pretty sweet. So saved up all my money, $20 a day, and eventually I was able to pay to have the quarter panel, the door, and the fender replaced on the Chevelle after it was sideswiped. And it was about, 4 or 5 different colors. Started driving it when I turned 16, but at that time it had sat so long that I think it had some carburetor issues, and I wasn't real knowledgeable at the time with cars. So, I drove it for the first summer that I turned 16, and almost got in a car accident one day when I was trying to pull out into traffic, and gave me some big hesitation issues. So after that day, I came home, I complained to my dad, said I was going to die in this thing, we needed to build a motor. So after that, it was parked again. We started building the motor, which that took a while. Basically, the summer I was 16, so I guess I would have been a sophomore, and I didn't drive the car again until my junior year of high school. So it took a year to build the motor, to pay for it and whatnot. Kept it fairly simple. I built a 355, did a scat, forged crank and rods, had Keith Black hyper-eutectic pistons, had a, I can't even remember what cam went in it, some comp cam, it was decent. Dart Sportsman 2 heads, and then back in those days, everyone was still about carburetors. Had a Holley 750 double pumper on it. Actually, no, it was a, what was that? It was a 650 main body with a 750 base plate. Or maybe it was the other way around. Something my dad made up. Worked super good. Drag raced all through high school once it got running. And it wasn't, a demon or anything. It was a heavy car. I didn't have drag radials or slicks or posi for that matter. Had a turbo 350, It might have had 355 gears in it. Not real certain. It could have had 273s for all I know. But it run 13.5, 1353, I think was the best pass I ever got when I was racing it in high school. So that was a lot of fun. For whatever reason, shortly after I graduated high school, I think, maybe within a year or two, you know, I'd had the car painted. It looked pretty good. Wasn't super happy with the graphics that got put on it. Had some funky super sport stripe-ish stripes that had flames and skulls inside the flames and bow ties and flames inside the flames, and it wasn't what I wanted. The painters said, hey, we got to do something, and I was like, okay, put some normal stripes on it. Here's the stock dimensions for what stripes would have been. No, we got to do something, you know, something cool, something good. It's like, all right, do the stock dimensions on the stripes and have flames coming off the side. That's what I wanted. What I got was skinny, dumb, I don't know, they might have been 8 inches wide, 6 to 10 inches wide somewhere. I can't quite remember. I didn't measure it. Skinny stripes. I hated it. Flames, barbed wire pinstriping around the flames. You know, a lot of people would have liked it, and a lot of people did compliment on how cool it was, but it wasn't what I wanted. So after that paint job, I just kind of got super down about the car, and for some reason I really decided that I wanted a 68 Chevelle. So one day, this kid I knew, I think he might have been, oh shit, I don't know, he might have been 10 or 12. He's riding his bike through this mobile home park that he lived in, and said, hey Jason, there's a Chevelle for sale. And I was like, oh yeah, what year is it? I don't know. How much do they want for it? I don't know. So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, that's probably not even a Chevelle, but, you know, whatever, let's go look at it. So I got there. It was a 68 Chevelle, and I was like, dang, 68 Chevelle. Had a pretty straight body, no rust. Of course, it had been sideswiped too. I don't know whether it was a car or been run down a tree, but some of the stuff had already been replaced or worked on, and it was decent, but it still needed a lot of work. They wanted $3,500 for it, so I ended up buying that one. I talked them down to $3,000. They had a 307 in it that had a rod knock, but that wasn't the end of the world because I was going to pull the engine out of the other car anyway and put that in there. So anyway, bought it for $3,000, drove it down the street, picked it up with a trailer, hauled it home, proceeded to swap the engine. So within about a month, had the engine swapped into the 68. It was now drivable. Had some, swapped my wheels and tires on it. I had some, at the time, 16-inch. I thought 16s were cool. That was a mistake. Should have got 17s. But 16-inch, kind of torque thrust 2 looking wheels. So swapped those on there. And, you know, I was driving. And took it out to the drag strip. Still ran a 13.5. So, comparable to the other car. So now I had my 68. I sold the 71 to my dad. He ended up selling it to one of his buddies, even though I was supposed to get it back if he ever sold it, but it didn't turn out that way. So still wish I had it, but it's gone. So I worked on that 68 for the next 6 years, got it painted, got the body all done, replaced the fender, did all the body work myself, with the exception of the quarter panel. I took it somewhere else to have that done, and got it painted. And this time it was the paint job that I liked, you know, thinking back on it now. I loved the paint job. I liked the car. There was always some funny things about it. It had some electrical issues here and there that kind of sucked. You know, the heater core went out. It drove kind of weird. I don't know why, you know, but I was never really into suspension and brakes and things like that because, you know, I just wanted to go fast. So anyway, at some point after it was basically done, I decided that I wanted a 70s body style again, whether it was a 70 or a 71 or a 72. I don't know why. So I tried to sell it for a long time as a complete car. It was appraised at somewhere around 20 grand, but this was in, say, 08, 2010-ish, when the economy was in the toilet, so no one had any money unless they were rich, and if they were rich and they were smart, they were holding on to their money and not buying $20,000 cars, even though I was only trying to sell it for 15, dropped to 13. So finally, I figured out how much money I had into the car, not including the engine. So I pulled my engine out of the car, kept the torque converter, and I sold it for like $6,500. Basically, I wasn't losing money on the car for what I had into it. You know, I didn't make much, but I didn't lose anything. Kept the engine, sold the car, found a 72 for sale. Straight body this time. I'd finally gotten something that wasn't sideswiped. Had a little bit of rust, but it wasn't horrible. So basically, I've got this 72 now sitting in my garage. The previous owner claimed it had a 283. It's actually a 327. It runs, but at the bottom end's pretty loose. When the engine gets up to operating temperature, it's got a faint rod knock. Never did put my 355 in it because now at this time the LS stuff's starting to get popular. Always wanted one, couldn't afford one. I was going to put fuel injection on the 355 and never did that. But anyway, I spent a lot of the money that I got out of the other car, basically, because, you know, I paid $800 for the 72. I sold the 68 as a roller with no motor for 65. So I bought nice new wheels. You know, that was a couple grand. Bought a Mega Squirt. Bought a bunch of fuel injection stuff. So basically, I've got everything to fuel inject an old small block just sitting in my garage. But that's not what I want anymore. Because when I was in high school, I had this crazy stall converter. And the thing was all rumpity, but really you couldn't take it out of town. And with this 72, I wanted something that was still, you know, reasonably fast. It'd run a 13 or a 12 or whatever, maybe an 11 if I got lucky. But I still wanted to have decent gas mileage. I wanted to be able to drive it out of town to go to hot August nights or cool April nights. I wanted to be able to jump in it, drive it somewhere, and get 20 miles to the gallon or better. So at this point, I was pretty set on the fact that this car was going to have an LS swap. It was going to have overdrive. So basically, I just kind of watched eBay for the deals. You know, the LS stuff was still expensive, especially if you wanted an aluminum block. So, you know, didn't really want a 5.3, but, you know, I would have stuck one in there. So finally, one day, I'm cruising eBay while I'm at work, and I found that for whatever reason, the G8 GT dropouts L76 with a 6L80 for some reason seemed fairly affordable. Don't know why, but you know, you type in Camaro dropout, it was 5, 6, 10 grand. You type in LS1, you know, 5, 6, 10 grand, depending on how much stuff you got with it. So I got the aluminum block 6-liter with a 6L80E transmission. They got the computer, most of the harness. They ended up screwing me on the harness, but it's a G8 problem. It's common. They've got some extra bulkhead connector that gets whacked off, and you've got to try and piece the harness back together. Didn't know that, but anyway. So I got this 6-liter with the 6L80 shipped to my door from back east. I live in Oregon, for somewhere around $3,700, under 100,000 miles, I think, right around 100,000. But anyway, it was a smoking deal, so I bought it. It's sitting in the garage. I got the 6-liter all torn down to do a DOD delete, put a camshaft in it. I got some Bow White ported LS3 heads to go on it, and that's about it. So anyway, at some point I'll pick that up again, start working on it, and I'll be recording random things as I do them to kind of take you guys through the process. And you know, it's my first LS swap, but with the amount of adapters and brackets and headers and, you know, so much of the prefabricated stuff that's available now, it's easy. Shouldn't be that hard. It should just bolt right in. The only thing I'm gonna have to do that's not a bolt-in affair is gonna have to cut the transmission tunnel, because from what I understand, the 6L80E is too big to fit in the stock transmission tunnel on a 70 to 72 Chevelle. So I gotta cut the tunnel, redo that. But anyway, the harness is already built. I did a lot of it. A buddy of mine helped me finish it, and it's 90% done. I've still got to put the connectors on for the MAF sensor and the gas pedal, which I'm not going to use a G8 gas pedal, and I'm not going to use a G8 MAF sensor. I'm going to use a LS3 style card MAF sensor, and I have a pedal out of a Camaro, so I'll rewire that stuff, and I think all that stuff will work fine. But anyway, at some point we'll get to that. I want fuel injection. I want to turn the key. I just want it to start. I want it to go. So anyway, yeah, I love cars. Go, as we're almost home here. I've been talking for 25 minutes or so, it seems, according to the timer. I'll go ahead and stop this, and then on the way back we'll talk about JacFab stuff.